Hey folks, MasakoX here. Welcome back to the story of Hit becoming the successor to Champa. Now, normally I would like to provide a chance for you to catch up with this story, but honestly, I don't think I need to this time. I would rather prefer to carry straight on from where we last left off. In short, Hit and Champa have come to some sort of an arrangement, Hit has discovered what kind of a god he wants to be, and we will go from there with the new contractor of destruction. As his body started to get used to this new form, Hit looked at his hand, which was radiating with pure Hakai essence, without really thinking about it. It just was. He performed another test on one of the larger rocks that were placed around the training grounds. He moved instantaneously, almost catching himself out, merely touching the rock with his pinky finger, and then slungshot back to his previous position, all in the space of a millisecond. And may I add that this rock was about 200 meters away from where he was sat. Very few living beings would even be able to notice that there was any movement at all. Even Goku would have had to concentrate a little bit to see. As he looked upon the massive rock in the distance that he had touched, it slowly started to wither into purple dust that then promptly evaporated into the ground. Gone. Not a trace left. As if it were never there. There it was. Precise, quick, and effective. A technique and transformation fit for him. Hit had never felt so alive right now. After 1,000 years of doing the same thing again and again, this was new. It honestly felt refreshing, and was one of the very small list of things that made Hit feel any semblance of joy in the last couple of centuries. His fight with Goku was a bit of a highlight. He figured out that a less disciplined fighter could get lost experiencing this feeling, become heady with power, that you could easily become caught in your own delirium having gained this power. Vegeta, he thought. But soon, he honed his mind to prevent this. He was also aware that by attaining this form, he had signed his destiny away. Ah, there lies the rub. By getting this power, you're locked in. Before the inevitable presentation of his power to Champa, he asked Vados for a trip around the universe. Hit wasn't an overly sentimental being, but he wanted to venture around it one last time as a mortal, as he believed that he wouldn't have any other occasions in which to do so, as a figure in the shadows. From then on, he would be revered, praised, and feared. People would view him differently. He could not hide. The angel did not comment on the places he chose to go, as the assassin spoke very little about his past, his family, his friends, though she could guess that a lot of this was related to the fact that said past remained, well, in the past. And although he didn't look like a sentimental fellow on a day-to-day basis, Hit genuinely wanted to bid farewell to those last strings that connected him to a more ordinary life. Not just related to his future as the contractor of destruction, but also his current profession as an assassin. A connection to simpler times that no one except Hit himself had access to. Now, of course, Vados, being an angel, could have any power that they want. She could have pried into it and discovered what kind of a person he was by reading his mind before life shaped him into the living weapon that he was today, but she didn't want to. She chose not to. That would have removed some of Hit's charm, some of his mystique, and she would have had plenty of time getting to know him anyway. She could just ask, as her new superior. Although she knew that he was smart enough not to see himself as a superior to an angel, well, hey, that's just what protocol did. Despite his previous attitude towards Champa, Hit was always cordial toward her. Despite his previous attitude towards Champa, he was always pretty cordial towards her, albeit laconic. But that was Hit for you. Silent, efficient, and distant. That's why he was such a perfect candidate for the role. And despite Vados looking forward to this partnership, she realized that she would miss Champa in her own special way. Angels rarely were emotional. It was not in their nature to be so. Some might even say that it was not in their design. But that didn't mean that she could not have certain sentiments crop up. Of course, some of her younger siblings like Beerus, Margarita, or even Whis were more susceptible towards displaying emotion, having witnessed mortals expressing them. You also get a little bit eccentric in the job, but the attitude that she displayed toward the world was more or less sarcastic, sassy, happy-go-lucky. But there were things beyond that. Time was never seen as an issue for the angels. Even the gods of destruction were, ultimately, bound by time. She spent many years at Champa's side, and it would be odd to see him go. By no means, he wasn't the first god of destruction she had worked under or served for, nor would he be the last, but when all things were considered, he might have been her favourite. Not in terms of competence or power, and definitely not in terms of fitness, but she had managed to form a certain bond, an attachment to him. A friendship, you could say. And as such, Hit was finally ready to show Champa his destruction contractor form, which greatly impressed the cat. He knew the guy was good, but he didn't expect him to be that good. Fua was also present, and he couldn't contain his excitement. He felt really safe having a GOD such as this as his now lifelink partner. "I'm not gone yet," Champa scowled. "Oh, of course not, buddy, but, you know, with the whole retiring thing, I'm just, you aren't the most, you know." Champa glared at him. "I can still kick your ass, bud. I don't have to kill you." Fua gulped loudly. "You will get used to him," said Vados silently to Hit. Hit just sighed. He completely forgot that part of his duty would be having a certain partnership with that goofball Fua, the Supreme Kai. But maybe it would be a good thing, he hoped. Maybe he could motivate him to start taking things more seriously. This job was not cushy. I mean, he was hardly as incompetent as the Kai of Universe 7, but he still needed some work to really pull his socks up. Now came the hard part of this whole ordeal, something that both Hit and Vados knew Champa dreaded. It was time to tell Beerus. They had visited him once before, not long after Hit had started training with Vados and Champa, when he and Whis were watching Son Goku and Vegeta training with that other Saiyan. He's called Broly, I think, who, as he heard from Vados, was insanely strong. And coincidentally, of course, a Saiyan. Well, Hit thought to himself, Caulifla, Carver and Kale have big shoes to fill. And indeed, watching this new warrior train with them reminded him of Kale in a way. But it seemed that his rival and his companion were successfully training him to learn how to use and control his powers. Hit didn't have to be a detective to figure out the way Whis was looking at Broly. It was a look of idolization. He knew that look. Vados gazed at himself in a similar manner, ever since he started training with Champa. Maybe in the future, he and Broly would be working together. When Son Goku saw them, he stopped the routine and approached him. "Hey, Hit! Didn't expect to see you here. Want to spar with us?" Hit smirked. Something about this fellow's energetic personality was almost contagious. "Not today, Son Goku. Lord Champa has an announcement to make." Beerus lazily looked at their direction, hardly acknowledging their presence. Champa scowled, knowing that Hit had willingly put him on the spot. "So, brother, Whis? And you three, I guess." "5. Me and Lemur are here as well, you know." The green-skinned woman that he did not recognize had scolded Champa, something that Hit found very amusing. "5 of you, yes. You're in luck that I'm not in a mood for raising people. Well, I shall be retiring soon. Yes, Hit here will be my replacement." "Whoa, really? Well, congratulations, Hit." Goku seemed excited, Vegeta nodding in agreement.
"He is a very capable warrior. I can completely see why you're the best choice for your universe." "Thank you, Vegeta."
And for a moment there was silence. Then an icy voice could be heard from Beerus' sun lounger.
"I beg your pardon."
Champa looked at Beerus, whose eyes narrowed and his facial features tensed up. But as he tried to say something, his twin charged at him, taking them far away from the group. "Lord Beerus, wait!" Goku tried to go after them, but Whis and Vados stopped him.
"Not now, Goku. They have
some things to settle." Beerus looked furious as he looked Champa dead in the eyes.
"I can't believe you're doing this to me."
"What are you even talking about? You said many times that you don't care about me." Champa was getting defensive.
Because I don't."
A shade of darker purple was visible around Beerus' cheeks.
"But it's beyond that. We promised each other that we were going to go together. You promised!"
Champa tried to lash out, but instead his face became more vulnerable.
"I'm tired, Beerus. And the tournament made me realize something. That I wasn't doing a very good job. For quite some time. And I don't think my heart is in it anymore. Hit will be a great replacement for me. You can try him out if you want."
"It's not about him not living up to the task, brother."
"Then what?"
"I will just...
Just what? Spell it out!"
I will...
Beerus was fighting his own mouth.
Now you're the one who's being ridiculous.
I don't want you to go!
Beerus yelled loudly, shocked at the volume of his own voice, as he immediately covered his mouth, realizing that everyone looked at him. Even though they were a fair ways away, Champa smirked.
That's awfully nice of you to say, brother, but you know the rules. I won't be gone yet. If you want to join me, there'll be some time before I do. You'll know where to find me. The usual place.
Beerus turned away immediately. Enough! Let's test that candidate of yours. And Beerus materialized in front of Hit. All right, show me what you've got. Hit complied and showed everything that he had learned during the last few years. First, in his base form. But when Beerus started to get a little bit serious, he activated his contractor form. Beerus, as well as Goku, Broly, and Vegeta were really impressed by this. It was clear that Beerus was still stronger, but Hit always had an answer for his attacks, and they noticed that the cat was starting to get tired. All right, you'll do, I suppose, he said after catching his breath. Thank you, Lord Beerus. I look forward to working with you. Champa nodded at Vados and his student. So, we'll be going now. Plenty of training to do to prepare Hit for the job. And they went back to Universe 6. More time passed and Hit was receiving even more training. As the day finally came, it was time to finally begin the ritual. The Grand Priest, Champa, Fua, and Vados were all there. Champa patted Hit on the shoulder. You'll do great. Thank you, Lord Champa. Take care and lay off the snacks. Champa smirked at him. Hit of Universe 6, said the GP. As your planet of origin is long gone, we can go straight to the ritual. Do you promise to uphold the balance between creation and destruction, be impartial and perform your duties in good faith? I do. Then, let me fill you with your new purpose. Hit felt weird. He looked at Champa one last time and then something changed. As the symbols of Universe 6 glowed around the cat's body, he slowly began to fade away, leaving those symbols behind him. Said symbols flew into his body and started to change him, increasing his latent potential, but also forcing his past memories to become less meaningful to him. They were fading, those that weren't connected to the function of a destroyer. Old memories were thrown deep into the back of his head, as if they were locked away in a chest, only to be opened again when he would relinquish the job. They weren't gone, they were just hard to recall. His main focus was now on destruction and performing his duties. As he looked at his new attire, the Grand Priest nodded at him. I welcome you, Hit, God of Destruction. Vados smiled. Welcome, Lord Hit. Shall we get to work? Hit looked around. There was no trace of Champa. He wasn't even sure why he was looking for him anymore, but he looked at his angel attendant and nodded. Yes, Vados. Take us home, and then let's get to work. And as such, Hit proved to be an excellent god of destruction, fair and dutiful. He also was sure to encourage Fua to perform his duties with a greater effectiveness. Sometimes he had to make a hard choice, but he was never unnecessarily cruel or overly passionate. In a mere 100 years, they were able to double the mortal level of Universe 6. And although Vados missed Champa at times, she knew that it was the right decision. The only weird quirk Hit had as a god of destruction was that she had to make contracts for him to hit the planets. But seeing how modest he lived when compared to Champa, she could live with this oddity. It was far less upkeep. As Hit and Vados performed their critical role, there was a legend being formed around the universe. A legend spoken around the realms of Universe 6 of an old cat-like being. Said being, who was always seen wearing a straw hat, who always led a simple life in a little fishing hut on a backwater planet somewhere. Their days were spent being lazy and relaxed, just catching fish and watching the sunset. One day, a younger being, well, seemingly younger and thinner than the older one, visited. They looked very similar. Yes? Asked the older one. I know this may sound weird. My head's a little bit fuzzy, but I have a weird feeling that I know you. You're my brother, the younger one said, troubled. The older cat looked at the newcomer and embraced him. You might be onto something there. Come in. You must be thirsty. And from that day on, the two cats just watched the sun set, and fished together till the end of their days. When the younger of them finally closed his eyes for the last time, the god of destruction had quietly erased their planet, as they were the only remaining life forms present. He had held off from doing so, longer than nature had intended, but this could be construed as a silent form of respect. Some people said that the god said nothing as he performed this, almost as if he were bidding them farewell.